We are talking about bento hands again today. I swear, hands seem like a never-ending subject, but we're talking about 30 bones here. Why do we have so many things so important with them? False recall. How you doing? So we have people on the live stream. We are talking about bento hands again today. And what I want to talk about with bento hands today is animation and whether you're animating for bento hands or whether you're animating for system hands. Now, of course, I'm in a female avatar today because I'm working on some female animation. Broke your pinky finger, eh? So we're on a perfect subject. Maybe you can fix it with bento, right? So, but we don't have to choose between bento hand animation and system hand animation. We can use both. And if people that are watching don't quite understand, in Second Life, our hands now have two ways to animate them. And we actually have two different kinds of hands. We have a set of hands with bones, which are referred to as bento hands or bento fingers, because we have finger bones. And then we have our system hands, which uses a morphing system to create the hand shapes. So we're going to learn today how to make a bento hand animation and include system hand data so that the animation can work on either a bento avatar or a default avatar. Okay, so we can log out of Second Life now. And we are in Blender, and I have this animation set up. It's, let me go 81 here. It's just a simple swaying animation. But, of course, we have bento hands with bento bones, and I have kind of a relaxed hand position here, and they move around just a little bit. So I have a bento hand animation here, but when I'm making, right now I'm kind of finishing up my female bento AO, but I also want this bento AO to work on system hands. I don't want people to buy an AO and then have to choose between their different AOs depending on which set of hands they might be using. But there is a way in Avastar to export your hands with both of these datas. Okay, so of course we have the keyframing data. If we look at our dope sheet here, or our action editor, we of course have keyframing data. All of this in green is for the fingers. For those bento hands, and that creates the animation for them. So that part I've already have done. So now how do we add system hands to this animation? Now this is the part that gets a little bit tricky. And it's going to mess you up if you don't understand this completely here. So under our Objects tab, we have a set of morphs that we can apply to our animation. Now these morphs, most of these are all facial morphs. So you could actually add facial morphs to the animation too. But right now we're talking about hands. And as we see here, we have a hands option. Under the expressions, when I'm selected on a bone in pose mode, under the object tab. Okay, So we have this option here, hands. And they're set to spread because spread is the default hand mesh position. Okay, so that's why the hands for Bento look normal, because the mesh of this hand is set in this default spread position. Now, I don't want, in Second Life, when I upload this animation, I don't want spread on my system hands. I want probably a relaxed. But now look what it does to the mesh on this hand. We can now not see the mesh properly. So when you do this process, you should do this at the end. When you're all done with the animation, and the final time you export it, you should change your hand, your system hand, to the system hands that you want, and then go and export your animation out. And that is how you have both Bento hands and system hands. And there's no other special options you need to have in here. You just have to have this set to the hands that you want. But just remember, when you're actually working on the Bento hands, you want to switch back to spread. Okay, so that's how you export system hands. And it's kind of the same way it worked before, but now it also works with Bento, and we have this weird mesh thing going on with the hand. But just know that this is not how the hand is going to look in Second Life, how the mesh hand is going to look. It's just referring to the mesh morphing data when you use that. So let me go to chat here and let me see what kind of questions we have. We have 15 people watching. Can I ask if your AV is a full mesh, or did you make the hands as separate objects? I don't understand why makers are making the hands separately. Storm Thunder says the limit of 8 faces per mesh and fingernails. That's some of it. But I don't quite even understand it completely either. I know people like to swap out different parts. But in the avatar that I was showing in Second Life, I was wearing a slink body, Vista hands, which I broke so that my animations could work. And I haven't, I'm using a head that I kind of helped out with a client, but it's not fully done. I might buy a Catwa head today. So who knows? But I think that's the video for today. There's probably gonna be one more video on hands. It's crazy how many different hand tutorials I've done now, and I can't believe that I still have at least one more. There's at least one more, and that has to do with rigging and setting up your hands and your skeleton. But that's the video for today. You can export both Bento hands and system hands in the same animation. Okay, have a good one, everyone.